They don't tell you that freedom can feel just as lonely as a bad marriage. I thought leaving him would fix everything. I was wrong, but not in the way you think. So back in October, I finalized my divorce from my now ex-husband Dan. We'd been together 7 years, married for 4. I was the one who filed. I thought I was making the biggest, bravest, smartest move of my life. 6 months later, well, here I am, sitting on the ugly brown couch I bought off Facebook Marketplace, eating cereal out of a mug, realizing I might have been dead wrong. But let me back up. The short version people always want first. No, he didn't cheat. No, he didn't hit me. No, he wasn't an alcoholic, a secret gambler, or hiding a second family in Idaho. Dan was, a good man. He just wasn't exciting. He didn't sweep me off my feet anymore. He didn't text me song lyrics in the middle of the day like he used to. We worked, we paid bills, we binged shows, we slept. Rinse, repeat. At some point, I got restless. Like bone-deep restless. I started thinking, is this it? I started reading posts about being in your 30s and settling, and wondering if I was throwing my life away on safe. I started noticing all the ways he wasn't enough. He didn't like traveling much, he didn't care about trying new restaurants every weekend, he didn't know how to surprise me anymore. Meanwhile, my friend group had a couple of loud, shiny people who loved to talk about radical self-love and living your authentic truth, whatever that means when you have 3 parking tickets and sleep on a futon. One night last May, after one too many margaritas at a rooftop bar with string lights and bad tacos, I told my friend Cara, I think I want a divorce. She squealed and grabbed my hands like I'd announced I was having twins. Oh my God, yes. You're so brave. Dan is sweet, but you deserve someone who worships you. Life's too short to be comfortable, babe. So I did it. I told Dan 2 weeks later, sitting at our kitchen table, hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my coffee cup. He didn't yell. Didn't beg. He just sat there, so still. I remember he had this tiny wrinkle between his eyebrows, this stunned, almost confused look like he couldn't quite process it. He said, if you're sure I won't fight you. I was sure. Or I thought I was. By September, I'd moved into a tiny 1-bedroom apartment across town. It had character, which is code for creaky floors and a weird smell that no candle could fix. The first night I slept there, I cried so hard I gave myself a nosebleed. No one tells you that when you finally get your freedom, sometimes it feels like grief. But still. I powered through. I bought cute throw pillows. I got on Bumble. I went to brunches where we clinked glasses and said things like new beginnings. I dated a guy named Colin for a minute, tattoo artist, rode a motorcycle, quoted Bukowski like it was still 2009. It was exciting. Until it wasn't. Until he forgot my birthday and ghosted me for 4 days because he lost his phone. Spoiler, he didn't. Meanwhile, Dan? I heard through mutual friends he was doing fine. Better than fine. He'd started running 5 Burmese chots. He grew out a little scruff that made him look annoyingly hot. He started posting pictures from barbecues and hiking trips, and this killed me, a cooking class. The man who used to think grilled cheese night was gourmet now made homemade gnocchi. I should have felt happy for him. Instead, every post felt like a paper cut. Thanksgiving hit harder than I thought it would. My family, bless them, tried to act normal. Mom made the same dry turkey. Dad fell asleep during the game. But there was this gap where Dan used to be, helping my brother set up the new TV, sneaking me extra mashed potatoes when Mom wasn't looking, laughing too loudly at my uncle's terrible jokes. At some point, my cousin pulled me aside and said, "Hey, I always thought you and Dan were, solid. What happened?" I shrugged, picking at the peeling label on my beer bottle. Just, grew apart. But the words felt hollow even as I said them. Grew apart. It sounded clean and mutual. It wasn't. It was me. I pushed him away. And now? Now it was too late. In December, my friend Cara hosted a Santa baby-themed party. Yes, it was as cringy as it sounds. I went because staying home alone felt worse. About halfway through, after too much spiked cider and forced flirting, I stumbled into the backyard for air. And there he was. Dan. He wasn't supposed to be there. I later found out Cara had invited him because she thought it would be healing for me to see that we could still be friends. Screw you, Cara. He looked good. Really good. Plaid shirt, sleeves rolled up, that scruffy jawline that I used to tease him about. He was laughing with some girl I didn't recognize, petite brunette, wearing a sparkly headband. Her hand brushed his arm and he didn't flinch. I stood there, heart pounding so loud it drowned out the Christmas music. And then he saw me. His smile froze. Just for a second. Then he nodded, a polite, almost awkward nod, and turned back to his conversation. That tiny moment felt like a sledgehammer to the chest. I stayed another 20 minutes, mostly hiding in the bathroom scrolling Instagram, and then I Ubered home and cried into my cat. Mid-January, I cracked. I'd had a bad day, spilled coffee on my white blouse, bombed a presentation, came home to a leaking faucet and a $400 heating bill. So, like an idiot, I texted him. "Hey. Just thinking about you. Hope you're doing okay." I stared at the screen so long my thumb went numb. He answered an hour later. "Hey. I'm good. Hope you are too." No emoji. No miss you. No opening for more. It was polite. It was final. It was a Tuesday night. I was lying on my too-soft bed under the cheap IKEA fairy lights, rewatching a dumb sitcom for the 4th time, when it hit me. I didn't leave because Dan was boring. I left because I was unhappy with myself. And I thought changing my external circumstances, new apartment, new men, new Instagram-worthy adventures, would fix that. Spoiler, it didn't. Turns out, the loneliness I blamed on Dan was my own. The restlessness? Mine. The ache that made me want to blow up my life? Still there. It just followed me into the new place like an unwanted houseguest. Dan hadn't been my jailer. He'd been my partner. And I'd thrown him away because I didn't know how to sit with my own discomfort. God. It felt like breathing cold air into cracked lungs. I saw him 2 weeks ago, by accident. I was in line at a coffee shop, hair a mess, wearing a sweatshirt with toothpaste on it. Of course. He was with the same brunette from the Christmas party. They looked easy, comfortable. He spotted me, gave a small smile. And this time, I smiled back. For real. No fake cheerful mask. No silent scream inside my chest. We nodded, two people who used to know each other's middle names, favorite pizza toppings, fears, dreams. Two people who used to think forever was a guarantee. And then we turned back to our separate lives. The funny thing about grief is that it isn't loud most of the time. It's quiet. It's brushing your teeth and realizing you're standing alone at a sink where 2 toothbrushes used to be. It's buying a single apple instead of a bag. It's sleeping diagonally across the bed because you can, and hating it. For a while after seeing Dan at the coffee shop, I stayed away from places I thought I might run into him. Which, in a town this small, meant a lot of driving 15 minutes out of the way for groceries or coffee. It felt ridiculous, like I was playing hide and seek with my own shame. I wasn't mad at him. I was mad at me. At how badly I had misunderstood what real love looked like. When we first got together, Dan made me feel like the only person in the room. He didn't just listen to me talk, he listened like he was learning a new language. Over time, that excitement softened into something quieter, steadier, showing up with takeout after a long shift, rubbing my back when my cramps were bad, knowing without asking when I needed space. I thought that meant he stopped loving me. Turns out, that was when he loved me the most. I kept expecting the sadness to wear off, like a bruise fading. Instead, it settled in, heavy and familiar. A few weeks later, I bumped into Cara downtown. She was wearing giant sunglasses even though it was cloudy, holding a bright green juice she probably paid $9 for. She hugged me too tightly, too brightly, like she was trying to convince herself she hadn't helped nudge me off a cliff. "How are you doing, babe?" she asked, head tilted like I was an injured bird. "I'm fine," I said, the way you say it when you're not. She nodded, too eager. "You're thriving. I can tell. Honestly, Dan was sweet, but you seem so much more alive now." I forced a smile. Maybe I was alive. I didn't feel it. That night, I deleted Bumble. I deleted Instagram for a while too. I lit a candle and read a book with an actual spine, one I'd bought 3 years ago and never cracked open. I listened to the rain tapping against the windows, and for the first time in months, I didn't fill the silence with noise. Maybe, I thought, maybe the real mistake wasn't leaving Dan. Maybe it was thinking someone else, anyone else, could fix the hollow places inside me. I started going to therapy. Not the kind you talk about over brunch to seem deep, but real, messy, gut-punch therapy. The first session, I cried so hard I gave myself a migraine. My therapist, a woman named Janelle with kind eyes and an annoyingly soothing voice, said something that stuck. Loneliness isn't cured by company. It's cured by connection. And the first connection you have to rebuild is with yourself. It sounded like one of those inspirational quotes you'd see on Pinterest in a loopy font over a mountain landscape. But damn if it wasn't true. March crawled into April. The days got longer, the light changing from harsh and gray to soft and gold around 6:30 at night. I walked more. Just walked. Around the block. Down to the river. Sometimes I'd leave my phone at home and just listen, to dogs barking, kids laughing, wind knocking against stop signs. One Saturday, wandering through the farmer's market, I saw Dan again. He was standing by a booth selling homemade jams, holding a little paper sample cup. The brunette, whose name I'd learned was Lily, was there too, laughing at something he'd said. For a minute, I just watched them. The way she touched his arm casually. The way he smiled at her, easy, natural. Once upon a time, that smile had been mine. I don't know what came over me, but I didn't hide this time. I walked up, pretending to examine a basket of strawberries nearby. Dan saw me first. His eyes widened just a little, then softened. He stepped away from Lily and came over, hands in his pockets. "Hey," he said, voice warm but careful. "Hey," I said back. We stood there, the weight of everything we didn't say hovering between us. "How've you been?" he asked. "Good," I said. And for the first time, it wasn't a lie. He nodded. "You look happy." "Thanks. You too." He smiled, real and lopsided, the way he used to when he was embarrassed. For a second, we were us again, two kids trying to figure out how to love each other right. "Take care of yourself, okay?" he said. "You too." He hesitated, like he wanted to say more, then turned back toward Lily. I watched them walk away, hand in hand, sunlight dappling the pavement around them. And it didn't hurt like it used to. It stung, sure, a soft bittersweet sting like the first sip of too hot coffee. But it wasn't devastation anymore. I bought a basket of strawberries. I went home and made a pie, not because anyone else would eat it, but because I wanted to. Later, sitting cross-legged on the floor with my fork and my plate and my second glass of wine, I realized I hadn't thought about what Dan might be doing, or what he might be thinking, or whether he missed me. I'd thought about the crust being flaky enough. About whether I'd added too much sugar. About how the spring air coming through the window smelled like hope. I still missed him sometimes. I missed the easy rhythm we had, the shared jokes, the warmth of a familiar hand finding mine in the dark. But I didn't want to undo it anymore. Leaving him had been a mistake. But mistakes aren't death sentences. They're just lessons you paid for in skin and blood and nights you can't get back. Sometimes you don't get to fix things. Sometimes all you can do is learn better, do better next time, even if next time is just loving yourself a little more patiently. When I went to bed that night, the sheets were cool and crisp. I slept with the window cracked open, the night air whispering in, soft and full of promise. Summer crept up almost without me noticing. One afternoon in June, I sat on the balcony of my apartment, legs propped on the rusty railing, reading a dog-eared copy of On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. The sky was that impossible kind of blue that makes you feel small in the best way. I hadn't thought about Dan in days. Not in the aching automatic way I used to, not like a phantom limb I kept reaching for in the dark. When he crossed my mind now, it felt like remembering a house I used to live in. Warm, familiar, but not mine anymore. Sometimes I wondered if he thought about me. Other times, I was too busy thinking about the tomato plants I was trying to keep alive, or the playlist I was making for my morning walks, or the watercolor class I'd impulsively signed up for at the community center. It wasn't that my life had become extraordinary. It was still messy and imperfect and stubbornly ordinary. But it was mine. One evening, I got a text from an old mutual friend, Jake. He and his wife were throwing a small cookout, he said. Nothing fancy, just burgers, beer, some board games. He added, almost as an afterthought, Dan might be there. No pressure. I stared at the message longer than necessary. I could have said no. 6 months ago, I would have. But now? I typed back. Sounds fun. Count me in. The day of the cookout was stupidly hot, the kind of humid heat that makes your hair rebel and your makeup slide off no matter how much setting spray you use. I wore a simple cotton dress and sandals, tossed my hair in a messy bun, and brought a bottle of cheap rose because it felt festive. When I pulled up, the smell of grilled onions and sunscreen hit me immediately. Kids shrieked from a slip-and slide someone had duct taped across the lawn. Music floated from a crackling Bluetooth speaker, oldies, the good kind. I spotted Dan almost right away. He was helping Jake wrestle a patio umbrella into a stand, laughing in a way that was open and easy. Lily wasn't there, or if she was, I didn't see her. He looked up and caught my eye. There was a pause. Then he smiled, not polite, not awkward. Just genuine. I smiled back, small and real. The night unfolded in a blur of citronella candles and dripping popsicles and beers sweating in plastic cups. We stayed in separate orbits, mostly. But once, while reaching for a bowl of chips at the same time, our hands brushed. Sorry, he said, chuckling. No worries, I said, meaning it. Later, as the sun sank low and the world turned the color of ripe peaches, I found myself sitting on the porch steps, sipping wine and watching the sky. Dan sat down a few feet away, giving me space. For a while, we just sat there, letting the crickets fill the silence. Then he said, almost casually, "How've you been?" I could have given the canned answer, "Good, you." Instead, I said, "Better." He nodded like he understood exactly what I meant. "You look happy," he said. "I am," I said. And it wasn't a performance. It wasn't a plea for him to believe it. It was the truth. He smiled, that same crooked smile that once unraveled me, and looked out at the horizon. "I'm glad," he said simply. "We didn't rehash the past. We didn't apologize. We didn't need to. There's a kind of forgiveness that doesn't require words. It just settles between two people, soft and invisible, and lets you both finally exhale." Someone called his name from the backyard, probably needing help with the grill. He stood up, brushing dust off his jeans. "Take care of yourself," he said again, the same words as before, but different somehow. "You too," I said. And this time, we both meant it without any hidden ache underneath. He walked away, back into his life. I stayed on the steps, feeling the earth cooling beneath me, feeling the quiet hum of being enough, just as I was, just where I was. A breeze stirred the trees, lifting the hair at the nape of my neck. I tilted my face up to the sky and let it wash over me. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hollow. I had loved someone good. I had made mistakes. I had lost, and I had survived. And somewhere along the way, without even noticing, I had found myself again. The stars came out slowly, one by one, shy and blinking. I sat there until the sky was full of them.